Welcome to this predicted paper from onmaths that is based on the advanced information given to us by the exam boards. Please use this paper in addition to your other revision. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. Onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing. If there were 39 people on the bus and 4 people got off the bus, that would leave 35 people remaining on the bus. So the fraction of people staying on the bus is 35 out of the 39 people on the bus. So our answer is, as a fraction, 35 over 39. We can't cancel that any further. Mode means most common or most frequent, and looking at this list of numbers, the number that comes up the most is this 7. All the other numbers just come up once, as 7 comes up twice. The first thing we need to work out is the fraction that Sarah will receive. Well, if Jane receives 9 over 10, then that just leaves how much of the numerator to match the denominator. So 9 plus 1 is 10, so it leaves 1/10 left for Sarah to have. And the reason that works is that the total amount needs to add up to 1, and 9 over 10 plus 1 over 10 is 10 over 10, which is just 1. So next we need to find out what 1/10 of 60 is. So we know that we divide by the bottom and times by the top. So 60 divided by 10 is 6, and then 6 times 1 is just still 6. So our answer will be £6. To find the factors of 30, we're just going to write down all the factor pairs, or all the pairs of numbers that multiply together to make 30. So 1 times 30 is 30, 2 times 15, 3 times 10. Now 4 doesn't go because 30 is not in the 4 times table. 5 times 6, and we notice that if we pick 6, it's just going to be 6 times 5, it's just going to be the opposite. So the factors are all the numbers that we've just written down, so it would be 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 10, 15, and 30. So we're going to start off by working out what 100% of 120 is. Well, that's obviously just going to be 120. And we're trying to get to 6%. So we always start off by working out 10%. It's always normally useful. And we just divide that 120 by 10, so we get 12. And we try to get 6%, so it'd be nice if I knew 5%. And 5% is nice and easy because we just halve that 10%. So that'd be 6. And if we got the 1% as well, we can get to the 6%. So to find out what 1% is, we just divide the 10% by 10 and get 1.2. So to get the 6%, we're going to add the 5% and the 1%. So we're going to add the 6 and the 1.2. And so we just do 6 plus 1.2, which is just going to be 7.2. And that's our answer. So a composite bar chart is where you'll stack the bar charts on top of each other. So we're going to start with this 12 here. And so I'm just going to do a bar up to 12. And these lines go up in 2s, so it would be there. And then we're going to do this females. So we've done the males, we're going to do the females. And the females is only going to be 1 high, because they're going up in 2s. And we need a way of showing male or female. So what I'm going to do is just shade the female there. And I'm going to just draw a key. I'm going to say if it's not shaded, it's males. And if it is shaded, it's females. Okay, next we're going to do the 8 and the 4. So what you can do is just do the whole thing and split it afterwards. So it would be like that. Shade in the females. And then finally we've got a 4 and a 12. And let's shade in the females there. Now don't spend forever on your shading, as long as it's clear which one's male and which one's female. We have to count how many 3's there are multiplied together by themselves. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is going to be 3 to the power of 5. And how many 7's? 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be 7 to the power of 3. When collecting terms, you've got to collect like terms. So we've got 13x. We've got a 3y. Now they're not like terms, but the 13x is a like term to the 7x, they're both x's, and the 3y is a like term to the 2y. So let's put the x's together, 13 lots of x plus 7 lots of x, and let's put the y's together, 3 lots of y plus 2 lots of y. So altogether we've got 13 lots of x plus 7 lots of x, well that's going to be 20 lots of x. And for the y's we've got 3 lots of y plus 2 lots of y, that's going to be 5 lots of y. So our answer is 20x plus 5y. To find a coordinate, what we can do is we can start in the middle and we work out how far across we have to go. And here we have to go 2 across, so the x coordinate is 2. Then we find out how far upwards or downwards we have to go. And here we can go, well, we have to go 3 downwards. So that's going to be minus 3. So we first of all look at the x coordinate, the 2, then the y coordinate, minus 3, along the corridor, up, or in this case down the stairs. Instead of doing 0.43 times 16, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 43 times 16. So I'm just going to get rid of the decimal and just change it to 43. But I've got to remember what I've done. So how have I managed to do that? Well, I've times it by 100, and that'll be important at the end. And to do 43 times 16, there are loads and loads of different methods. Just pick whichever method you enjoy doing or that you find easiest. I'm going to do the grid method, but it by no means is the best method. It's just the one I'm choosing to do. So 43 is 40 and 3, and 16 is 10 and 6. So 40 times 10 is 400, 40 times 6 is 240, 10 times 3 is 30, and 3 times 6 is 18. Then I'm just going to add them all together. So 400 plus 240 plus 30 plus 18. And when you add those all together, you get 688. Okay. Now, the problem is that obviously this is not going to equal 688. What we've done though is we've times it by 100. So to find the answer, all we need to do is divide this, undo that times by 100, so divide it by 100. When we divide that by 100, we get 6.88. We're going to first of all have to convert these both into the same unit. So we've got minutes and hours. That's not going to help us much. So what I'm going to do is pick the smaller unit, which will be minutes. So I'm going to keep that 50 minutes. And I'm going to convert 3 hours into minutes. That would be 180 because we times by 60. And I'm going to just remove the minutes now. And I can first of all divide by 10, and we want to try and make it nice and simple for ourselves. So divide by 10 would be 5 to 18. And we look at it, 5 and 18, actually there's nothing further we can do with that. So the ratio would be 5 to 18. If we were to write this decimal in the columns, and some of you might not have used these columns in a while, but we have units here, we have tenths, hundredths, thousandths, that's all we need. So it's going to be 0.182. If you read off the number, it's 182 thousandths. So you just look at where the last digit is and look at what column it is, and reading the digits from left to right, you can put that number, 182, over that last column. 1,000. Okay, so it's 182 over 1,000, but they're both even numbers, so we can actually cancel it down. It says it wants it in its simplest form, so we can divide Tom Bomb by 2, and 182, well 180 divided by 2 is 90, so that's going to be 91. Now I'm not sure, I don't think you can cancel that anymore, so I'm going to put that as my answer, 91 over 500. So we have a set of vertically opposite angles here and here, and we're going to start with those because we have to find out what m is before we can work out what x is. And vertically opposite angles are always equal, so we've got 13m plus 39 is going to equal 2m plus 149. And we're going to get our lines in there because we're going to solve this. And to solve this, we first of all take away the smaller amount of m, because we've got m's on both sides. We can't really cope with that when we're solving. And so we've got a 13m and a 2m. So we're going to remove the 2m. We're going to take that away from both sides to start off. And so we're left with 11m plus 39. And we've just got the 149 on the right hand side. Next we're going to remove the number. So take away 39 from both sides, and we've got 11m is equal to 110, and then we're going to divide both sides by 11 to find out what m is. So m therefore equals 10. So we know if m equals 10, we can then work out x, and the way we can do that is the fact that this one and this one are both on a straight line, so they are both on this straight line here. So we know that they've got to add up to 180. So let's write that down. 13m plus 39 plus x is equal to 180 degrees, or I don't normally put that in for the working out, I always put that in for the answer. So we can solve this, or well, first of all we know what m is. So it'd be 13 times n, which is 130. And then we can solve this. So let's get my solving lines in. And so that's going to be 169 plus x equals 180. And we're going to just take that away from both sides, the 169. So we've got x equals 11. So the value of x will be 11 degrees. To get from the length of a square to the area, we square the length. To work backwards, what we do is we square root, because the inverse of square is square root. So we've got 196 and we're going to square root it to find the length. So we work out the square root of 196, which is what number times itself is 196. And you should learn them from 1 to 15, so you should know all of the square numbers from 1 to 15. So you should know that the answer is 14. So the length therefore is 14. So to work out what the perimeter is going to be the distance around the square. So if I draw a square out, we know that each of these lengths are 14. So it's just going to be 14 times 4, which will be 56. To find the midpoint, we can use this simple formula. And we're going to start off by finding the midpoint for the x component. And the formula is just adding the two x coordinates and dividing by 2. So we're just going to add the two x coordinates together. So we've got 2 plus minus 1 divided by 2. And that's going to be 1/2, or 0.5. We'll do the same thing for the y coordinates. And the formula is the same, but just with adding the y coordinates together and dividing by 2. So it's going to be -5 plus 2. All of that divided by 2. So that's going to be -3 over 2, or minus 1.5. All probabilities have to add up to 1, and so the probability it will rain tomorrow is 0.15, and so the probability it won't rain is 1 minus 0.15, which will be 0.85. I'm going to start by working out what the building is, or the width of the building is in centimetres. So it says 33 metres, and I'm going to convert that into centimetres by timesing by 100. Okay, now when it says it has a scale of 1 to 300, it means 300 in real life is 1 on our map. So all I need to do is divide it by 300 to find out what it's going to be on our map. So we'll just divide that by 300 and I get the answer of 11. So it's going to be 11 centimetres on our map. So 3 as a percentage of 10, the first thing we can do is write that as a fraction. So 3 over 10. And then I can get the bottom to be 100 and the top will become the percentage. So I can times the top number here by 10. So that becomes 30 over 100. And percent means per 100. Here we've got 30 per 100, or 30%. So the answer is 30%. So we've got to first of all work out how many parts there are altogether. So we're told that the ratio of red, yellow and green is 3 to 2 to 4. So to work out how many parts there are altogether, we do 3 plus 2 plus 4, which is 9 parts. So there's 9 equal piles of sweets. Okay. But to work out what one part, or one pile of sweets is worth, we're going to get the 99 sweets and divide it by the amount of piles, and that's going to be 11. So one part is worth 11 sweets. We're asked to find out how many yellow sweets, and yellow is the middle one, so it's going to be the 2. So yellow has 2 piles of 11 sweets. 2 times 11 is going to be 22, so it's going to be 22 sweets. So trying to describe the single transformation, it kind of looks like it could be a rotation, and it would be a rotation of 180 degrees. But if it was a rotation, it would be actually this way around. And so it's not a rotation. It looks to me like it's a reflection, which it is. Now we've got to find out where we put our mirror line. And our mirror line for this would be a horizontal line. So if I just guess and I put it down here, notice that B is only 1 jump away from that, and yet A is 1, 2, 3 jumps away from that. So that's not very good. That's not the halfway point. So we need this to be the halfway between the two shapes, which is going to be here. And the name of that line, well, everywhere along that line, y is equal to minus 1. So we call it the y equals minus 1 line. So it's going to be a reflection across line y equals minus 1. All probabilities have to add up to 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take away these probabilities away from 1. So we're going to do 1 take away 0.09 plus 0.13 plus 0.18. And so that's going to be 0.4. 1 take away 0.4 is 0.6. So in this question, we basically need to add the 2 3/4 and the 2 2/5. So we're going to do 2 3/4 plus 2 2/5. Now, if I just rewrite this, 2 3/4 can be written as 2 plus 3/4 plus 2 plus 2 1/5, or 2/5. So we can add the 2 2's together to make 4. And then all we need to do is add the 3/4 and the 2/5. So when you add two numbers with different denominators, what we need to do is get the common denominators. And we do that by just quickly writing out the 4 and the 5 times table and seeing what the first number in both their times tables is. 16, 20, and 5, 10, 15, 20. So that's 20. So we need to get the bottoms of the fractions to 20. Now for 3/4, to get the bottom to equal 20, we need to times the 4 by 5. And whatever you do to the bottom, you've got to do to the top, so times that by 5 as well, which will be 15. And for 2/5, we'll get that bottom to 20. So we times that by 4. And so we've got to times the top by 4 as well to make it 8. So it's going to be 15 over 20 plus 8 over 20. So we need to add the numerators. So it would be 15 plus 8, which is going to be 23 over 20. Now that is a top-heavy fraction, so we can rewrite that as 1 and 3/20. And we can add the 4 and the 1 together to make 5 and 3/20. So the answer is 5 and 3/20. Integer just means whole number, so we're looking for all the whole numbers that satisfy these two inequalities. Well, the first inequality says that it has to be greater than 3. So the smallest number that is greater than 3 is 4. The second inequality says it has to be less than or equal to 8. So I'm just going to keep going until I get to a number that is less than or equal to 8. It can't be 9 because 9 is not less than or equal to 8. So our answer is 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So the first thing we're going to do is write this as a ratio between the fractions. So we're going to have green to black. Now it says that 1/4 of the counters are black, and therefore the remaining counters will be green. So if 1/4 are black, that leaves 3/4 to be green. And what we can do here is on both sides of the ratio, what I'm going to do is just times it by 4. So I'm just going to times 4 both sides. So 3 divided by 4 times 4, because over 4 just means divided by 4. So 3 divided by 4 times by 4 just gets rid of the fraction. And 1 divided by 4 times 4 is just going to be 1. Now this might surprise some people because they will probably think it's a ratio of 4 to 1. But we can show here that it's a ratio of 3 to 1. There's a few different methods to find product of prime factors, but I prefer using the bubble method. So we put a circle around 75, and we want to split it up into two numbers, so two numbers that multiply together to make it. I always pick the smallest that I can think of, which is normally 2, but in this occasion, the easiest one for me would be 5. I think also 3 goes into it, but 5 to me seems nice and easy. It doesn't always have to be the smallest that I pick. So 5 times what is 75? Well, 5 times 15 is 75. And then to make 15, we're going to do 3 times 5. And the reason why I've done some of these bubbles in red is that those are the prime factors, which means they can go to 1 and 5, but if you do 1 and 5 you'll be there all day. So we always stop when we do the prime numbers. And so we're going to write these in a list. So 3, 5 and 5. The product means that we put a times sign between them. But if you notice here we've got 5 times 5, so a different way of writing that in index form is 5 squared. So our answer will be 3 times 5 squared. We're going to start by looking at the numerator and the denominator separately. So looking at the numerator first, we've got 9 to the power 16 times 9 to the power 46. Now, when you have two powers of the same base, so they're both 9, base 9, but base is the big number, then what you can do is you can add the indices. So we're going to do 16 plus 46, which is 62. So it's 9 to the power of 62. And looking at the denominator, well, you've got a power inside and outside the bracket. Whenever you have that, you can just multiply them. So it'd be 9 to the power of 40. Now, whenever you've got a division between two powers of the same base, which we have here, it's 9 to the power of 62 divided by 9 to the power of 40. We just take away the indices. So it would be 62 take away 40, which will be 9 to the power of 22. So our answer is 9 to the power of 22. When factorising quadratic, and this is a quadratic, so we've got an x squared term, an x term, and a number term, what we need to do is we need to find numbers to put in two pairs of brackets. And to do that, we first of all look at the number on its own, the 28, and the two numbers, we need to find two numbers that multiply together to make that 28. We also look at that minus 16, the coefficient of the x term, and we know that they've got to add together to make that minus 16. So something you can do is just quickly write down the factors of 28, and so that's going to be 1 and 28, 2 and 14, 4 and 7. Now, they can actually both be negative as well. So minus 1 and minus 28 is still multiplied together to make 28. Minus 2 and minus 14. And minus 4 and minus 7. But they need to add together to make 16. So we're going to check these to see which add together to make 16. So looking down the list, it's going to be these two here. Minus 2 plus minus 14 is minus 16. The first terms in our brackets are both going to be x, and we're just going to put the minus 2 in one of the brackets and the minus 14 in the other. So I'm going to write out the equation again just to give us a bit more space. And the rule we have here is if we have an x on both sides, which we do in here, we pick the smallest one to get rid of. So we've got a 12x and a 7x. And so the smaller number, or the smaller x, would be the 7x. So we're going to get rid of that first. So we've got our lines in, and we're going to take away 7x both sides. And so 12x take away 7x is 5x. And the 7x is gone, so it's just equals to 46. Then we've got the minus 4 to get rid of, so we're going to add 4 both sides. And then we've got this times 5 here, so we're going to divide 5 both sides. So we've got x equals 50 divided by 5, which is 10. So we're looking to write a formula for the cost in pounds of hiring a microwave for X amount of days. So the cost is C, so it's going to be C equals, and it says it's going to be 55 pence a day. Now, it wants the answer in pounds, so we need to convert this 55 pence into pounds. So that's going to be 0.55. And it's going to be 0.55 times the amount of days. Well, it says the amount of days is X. So it's going to be 0.55x. Then it says that there's just a one-off cost of £15. So you're going to have to pay £15 regardless. So we're just going to add 15 onto that. So the answer would be C equals 0.55x plus 15. To work out the area of a rectangle, we just multiply the width and the length. Here they are mixed numbers, so all we do is the width times the length. Now when you multiply with fractions, always make them top heavy first, or improper, and to do that you times the big number by the bottom and add it to the top. So we're going to do 1 times 2 and add it to the top, so 3 over 2. Same with this one, 1 times the 3 at the bottom, added to the top. 1 times 3 is 3, add to the top is 5. Now we've got to get the numerator, we don't need to get the numerator the same, we're multiplying. All we do now, really easily, is just multiply the tops and multiply the bottoms. So we've got to convert 15 over 6 into a mixed number because it asks for a mixed number. So 15, how many 6's go into 15? Well, we're first of all going to have 2 whole ones, and how many left over? There are going to be 3 left over. Now, 3 over 6 is the same as 1/2 because we can divide top and bottom by 3. So our answer is 2.5. So I'm going to write this out again just to give us a bit more space. And the way we're going to solve this is exactly the same as if we had an equation there, well, with an equal sign, obviously. But with this one, if you times or divide by a negative, you've got to flip the sign. We're not going to be doing that in this one, but that would be one of the differences. So we're going to take away 10 both sides to get 7x on the left-hand side. Make sure you don't put an equal sign in there, otherwise that is instantly 0 marks. Then we're going to divide by 7 both sides to get x on its own. So it's x is greater than or equal to 11 would be the answer. So we're told that y is directly proportional to x. And so the first thing I'm going to do is replace that proportionality sign with an equals. And to do that, we need to introduce k. So y equals kx. So you just multiply the right hand side by k. Then I'm going to substitute the values it's given us. So it says to us that when x is 5, y is 4.5. So when y is 4.5, and then we've got x is 5. Then I'm just going to quickly solve that, get my lines in, and divide both sides by 5. And so that's going to be 0.9 equals k. So k is 0.9. So I go back to the equation, and instead of y equals kx, I know that y equals 0.9x. Now k is a constant, which means it will never change, so it's always going to be 0.9. So to find the value of x when y is 5.4, I'm just going to replace y with 5.4, and just a matter of solving again. So get my lines in, and what I'm going to do is just divide both sides by the 0.9 to find out what x is. And when I do that, I find that x is 6. So we're asked to work out the average speed. So we've got to first of all remember the triangle. So average speed is total distance over total time. And we're told to find the average speed before stopping. So stopping is shown with a horizontal line on a distance time graph. So it's up to this point here. So the average speed will be the total distance, which would be 20, over the total time. So 9:30 to 10 will be 30 minutes, but since our unit will be kilometers per hour, we need that in hours, which will be a half. And 20 divided by a half is going to be 40. So our answer is going to be 40 kilometers per hour. To find the pressure, we need the area and the force. And we're given the force in the question, and so all we need to do is find out what the area is, which will be the 7 times the 9, which will be 63 centimeters squared. And the force is given to us in the question, so what we can do is write down the pressure formula, which says that pressure equals the force divided by the area. Force is given to us as 2268. The area we've calculated is 63. Divide the 2 and you get 36. So it's going to be 36 newtons per centimetre squared. When translating, we translate with vectors, and the top number in a vector tells us how far right, and the bottom number tells us how far up we go. And to translate a shape, you always pick a point. Now I always pick the top leftmost point, so I'm going to pick this one. And looking at the vector, it says we're going to go 2 to the right. So we do 2 jumps to the right, 1, 2. Now looking at the bottom, because it's minus 4, instead of going up 4, we're going to go down 4. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So our new coordinate for the top will be here. And the next thing we need to do is draw in the shape. So that's the top left part of the shape. And so I'm going to draw in the shape, and it's 4 across. So it should go here. And draw in the shape in there. Make sure that you know that that coordinate is the top left part of our shape. And it says to label it B. So this question is asking us really to divide the 5 3/4 by 1 3/4. So we're going to do 5 3/4 divided by 1 3/4, because we're finding out how many of each of these towels which is 1 3/4 metre, can be made when the total amount of cotton is 5 3/4. So first thing we're going to do is convert them to mixed numbers, to top-heavy or improper fractions, because at the moment they're mixed numbers and we can't divide or times if they're mixed. So we times the 5 by the 4 and add it to the top, which will be 20, and then add it to the top 23, and then do the same. 1 times 4 is 4, plus it to the top is 7/4. Now a little trick here is KFC. We keep the first fraction, we flip the second fraction, and we change the divide sign to a time sign. So we're going to keep this first fraction as it is, change that divide to a times, and flip the second fraction. Okay, whenever we multiply, we just multiply the tops, so 23 times 4, which is 92, and we times the bottoms, which will be 28. And now we need to convert this back into a mixed number. So first of all, actually we can simplify this, because we can divide top and bottom by 4, so that would be 23/7. And then make this a mixed number. So 7's into 23 go 3 whole ones, and then obviously 2 remainders, so it's 2/7. Now it asks us for the amount of towels that she can sew patterns into. Now the issue here is that she will do 3 whole towels, but then have some left over, but she doesn't have enough to create a 4th towel, so it's just going to be 3 as an answer. There are 2 parts to this power. We've got the negative there, which means we're going to find the reciprocal of the fraction. And then we've got that 3 there, which just means we're going to find that as the power. So we're going to first of all flip the fraction. So that's going to become 3/5. And we've still got the power 3 there. And then we're going to cube top and bottom. So cubing the 3 gives us 27. Cubing the 5 gives us 125. So our answer will be 27/125. So I'm just going to write this out again, just so we've got a bit more space. Okay, the way we solve this is very similar to solving an equation with equal signs, but this time we're going to do 2 tramlines because there's 3 sides of this inequality. And we need to get x on its own, so looking at the fact that we've got 3x minus 5, we're going to deal with that minus 5 first. So we're going to add 5 to all 3 sides. So add 5 here, so we'll just leave 3x in the middle, and add 5 to the right hand side. Now we need to get rid of that 3, so we're going to divide by 3, and again we need to do it all 3 sides. So divide by 3 and divide by 3. So we've got x is greater than or equal to 7, and then we've got 10 is greater than x on the right hand side. It doesn't look like it, but we actually have a quadratic here, and the reason it doesn't look like it is because we don't have an x term, but as long as we have an x squared term and a number term, we definitely have a quadratic. And notice something about this second number. It's a negative version of a square number, and that will always be the case because this question is using something called difference of 2 squareds. And it's very, very simple to work out. What you do is you put down 2 sets of brackets and you square root the first term. Well, that's just going to be x. And you put the positive and negative versions of the square root. So we're going to square root 121, which is 11. So we're going to put plus 11 and minus 11, and that's it. Now, when we expand that, and we're just going to quickly expand that now to have a look, it's going to be x squared plus 11x minus 11x minus 121. And notice that the 2x terms cancel each other out, which is why we don't have the x terms. So we need to first of all work out what the length of the side of the square is. And to do that, what we do is we get the 44v to the power 4, w to the power 5, and we just divide it by 4. And to do that, all we need to do is just divide the coefficient by 4. So it'd be 11v to the power 4 w to the power 5. Some people will try and do something with the v to the power 4 to w to the power 5, but if you think about it, if I just draw out my square, if it's 11v to the power 4, w to the power 5 all the way around, when you add, you don't add the v to the power 4, w to the power 5, it's just going to be 11 lots, another 11 lot, another lot of 11, and another lot of 11. So it's 44 v to the power 4, w to the power 5 in total. And to work out what the area is, we obviously are going to square that. So we're going to do 11 v to the power 4, w to the power 5, and we're going to just times it by itself, which is what squaring means. Okay, so we're going to times the 11s together, so that's going to be 121. Going to times the v to the power 4s together, and remember with indices, if you times two powers of the same base, and they're both v, then we just add the powers together, so that'd be 8. And we're going to add the w to the power 5s together, so that makes 10. So it's 121 v to the power of 8, w to the power of 10. You can complete a unique version of this paper by going to our onmaths site. onmaths is full of free content to help you prepare for your exams, such as topic-based papers, demon questions, and mini mocks. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing.